Well, white numbers. So Manchester City tonight, 7 changes from the weekend. So even though Pep Guardiola said, yep, no, focus is completely on this, not on Anfield on Sunday, he's made 7 changes. However, still a strong team. Ederson, Lewis, Akanji, Captain Diaz and Gvardiol, who's back after not playing in the last 7 matches because of injury. Then Rodri, then Oscar Bob gets another chance in the starting lineup. Alvarez, Kovacic, Mateus Nunes, and the top scorer, the 28-goal man, Erling Haaland, who no doubt will have been twitching as Harry Kane and Mbappe were scoring goals in the Champions League last night. And Copenhagen, their captain is their goalkeeper, who is at Liverpool, Kamil Grabara, who will be off to Germany, to Wolfsburg in the summer, but he's got the captain's armband on as well as his famous mask. And then 5 at the back: Vavro, Scott McKenna on loan from Forest, and Kevin Dix, the central defenders, Ankerson and Yeller, the wing backs. They've got a couple of teenagers in central midfield, Victor Froholt and William Clem, then Mohamed El Younousi, who you'll remember from Southampton, on the right, Achuri, the Tunisian international, on the left, and another teenager, the Icelandic striker Ori Oskarsson is the striker, because as well as everything else, Copenhagen are missing several experienced players because of injuries tonight. So they are right up against it here as the match begins, this second leg of this UEFA Champions League round of 16 tie. It is the visitors from Copenhagen, the Danish champions, don't forget, who kick off, and it's out of play. In fact, it's a free kick to Manchester City for an offside just in front of their own penalty area. So yes, Manchester City overwhelming favourites, and the Copenhagen fans again excelling themselves in their sections in the 3 tiers to our right, behind the goal that Grabara is defending, bouncing up and down, waving their flags. They're enjoying it while it's still 0-0, I think, Stephen, with Manchester City in possession inside their own half.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Listen, in sport, you never know. But if this turns out to be Copenhagen's night, well, we're about to witness a sporting event that we'll never forget.
No, and I think what they've tried to do is they've tried to be as organised as they can, playing almost a 4 across the midfield, and then Oskarsson through the middle on his own. The 2 wingers, El Younousi and Achuri, will try and support as much as they can and get forward and trying to create a 3 up front when the ball switches over. But having that 5 at the back just allows midfielders to run onto the centre halves, and it allows them just to keep the shape.
I notice as well that El Younousi, one of the most experienced players, is actually playing in a central area, and the 18-year-old Froholt is towards the right-hand side of that midfield 4. So Manchester City 0, Copenhagen 0. This is BBC Radio 5 Live, BBC Sounds. Sitting next to me here in the stadium, Stephen Warnock, played in the Champions League with Liverpool, and also Shay played in the Champions League with Newcastle. And Gvardiol in possession on the halfway line. Ball out towards the left-hand side. Comes back to Diaz in a central area. Diaz just thinking about whether to go long with the pass. In fact, it's out to the right-hand side. Mateus Nunes has got it here. He's started on the right flank. Akanji back on the halfway line, and Manchester City, as you'd expect, dominating possession. Remember 3 weeks ago in Copenhagen how City started so strongly, didn't they? And Matsson's equaliser was a real shock to the system.
Well, it was just an error from Ederson, wasn't it, that led to the goal, and we just expected Manchester City to be so comfortable, but it did turn out to be one of the best performances we'd seen.
7:45 kickoffs in the Championship tonight. QPR West Brom will be just underway. The 8 o'clock start. In fact, a goal at Middlesbrough. Rob Law.
Middlesbrough 0, Norwich 1, 16 minutes in. Ashley Barnes scores the goal that could put Norwich into the playoffs. Ball over the top from Gabriel Sara. Barnes was free to fumble it inside into the back of the net from inside the area. 1-0 to Norwich.
Also, Swansea have gone 1-0 up at Watford. Watford 0, Swansea 1. That's an own goal, a Ryan Andrews own goal. And half-time in the Women's League Cup semi-final for Pollock.
Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 0. Arsenal cruising to the League Cup final. A first half hat-trick for Blackstenius and a terrific goal for Marnham. Villa have been poor. Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 0 at half-time.
Manchester City with the ball in the central third of the field, and Diaz playing it to Gvardiol. So Manchester City going into obviously this match, but also Anfield at the weekend, Stephen, just the one first-team player injured that we know about, Jack Grealish, although Doku is not named among the substitutes tonight, so there might be further news on him later. But here's Haaland through the middle. You can't ask for much more than that, as well as this run that they're on, this 19-match, 3-month unbeaten run in all competitions. City attacking down the right-hand side with Rico Lewis. This is his first start since January for Lewis, and the ball has been deflected out for the first corner of the match to Manchester City.
Yeah, Scott McKenna just getting across there, trying to prevent the corner, couldn't quite get there. And this is where Alvarez now steps over the ball. Big chance for Manchester City. They're a taller team than Copenhagen. You can see the height difference that they have.
Yeah, as well as all of the other advantages. Alvarez then, the Argentine World Cup winner. This is at the end where the Copenhagen fans are making all the noise. In comes the corner. It is deflected in. Akanji, 10 yards out, a swing at the ball, first attempt on goal, and Manchester City score. 1-0 on the night, 4-1 on aggregate, and only 4 minutes on the clock.
Well, I said they got a height advantage. You didn't even need the height advantage as the ball is swung in by Alvarez. I think he just gets a clear contact on it, John, and really clean contact with the right foot, steers it with the instep of his foot into the top right-hand corner. Grabara doesn't move. He doesn't even see it. It's a magnificent finish from Akanji. Just holds his player off, arm across his chest, make sure he can get the distance between him and the man. And it's Ankerson who can't get anywhere near him. And what a finish that is. Wow.
That's some finish from a central defender, Shay Given.
Wow, unbelievable. I mean, makes it look so simple, so natural. He just gifted. He's got a really strong connection. Great ball in from Alvarez from the corner kick, and it's a fantastic finish. But Copenhagen will be kicking themselves, John. Keep it nice and tight, keep it compact, not give them any chances, and they score from a set play. You know, it's poor from Copenhagen, but take nothing away from Akanji's finish. Absolutely first class.
Yeah, Erling Haaland would have been proud of that.
Yeah.
Caught it brilliantly from 10 yards, sort of hooked it round the defender, didn't he? And as soon as he made contact, it was in the back of the net.
Yeah, the big thing is he didn't lash at it. He didn't try and put his laces through it. Just knew the pace was on the ball into him, so he could just guide it into the top corner. I mean, perhaps he wasn't thinking to get it in the top corner the way he did. He was thinking just hit the target. But wow, what a finish that is.
So 1-0 to Manchester City, 4-1 on aggregate. But curiously, the noise that you can hear is from the Copenhagen supporters, who are they've come to have a good time.
Well, we weren't surprised. We're not surprised after seeing them a couple of weeks ago in their own stadium. They were getting outplayed, outclassed by Manchester City, and they were still vocal. Every opportunity they got to sing, they sung, and it was incredible to hear it at first hand, to be there live. I mean, that's arguably one of the best atmospheres I've seen in a football ground.
Yeah. It's a great place, parking, if you ever get the chance to go. City playing the ball forward. Mateus Nunes is chasing that into the penalty area, but it's cleared away by Scott McKenna, who's made his move to Denmark. On loan this season, having had next to no football with Nottingham Forest this season, and obviously has a place to play for in the Scotland squad and the Scotland team for the Euros this summer. So McKenna, part of the back line with Vavro and Dix, but it is very much a back five, isn't it? Which they did. Their coach, Jakob Næstrup, in the end did change to a back five, didn't he, in the first leg?
Yeah, and it suited them a little bit better because it allowed, as I said, the midfielders to run on. They were organised in the way that they, when Manchester City came onto them. But what it allowed as well was it allowed them to break from that shape in a more organised shape. And then when the ball did get turned over, they were then in a position to make sure that City couldn't really hurt them too much. I mean, that game could have comfortably been a 6 or a 7 if they hadn't changed that shape.
And that Akanji goal means that Copenhagen have now got to score 3 goals without reply in order just to take this to penalties. So Manchester City starting with certainly 1 foot in the quarterfinals, and now here's a run through the middle from Oscar Bob, who shoots low, and it is deflected wide. The goalkeeper went down. Dart into the area by Bob, looking extremely dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I like Oscar Bob a lot. I really do. I think he's just signed a new contract as well. I think he's a really exciting player coming through the academy again, and he looks like the next one off the conveyor belt, and he's got a big future ahead of him. Yep,
defenders just stepped in at the crucial moment. I think Vavro deflecting it behind, so it is a corner. Another corner to Manchester City. They scored from their first. It's a deep one, this to the back post. It hits the crossbar. A stretch at the back post. And then it's back in from the left-hand side.
straight through the keeper.
And the goalkeeper, Grabara, could do nothing about that as Alvarez swung it in from the far side. And that's 2-0 now with less than 10 minutes on the clock. And Manchester City are absolutely cruising it already.
Yeah, I mean, he had an opportunity at the back post, and it was Rodri who was completely free off a corner. And he hits the crossbar, and then they recycle it back out. And it's Alvarez who gets the ball, swings it in, and Grabara, I think he's just thinking it's going to take a touch off someone. But it doesn't. It's poor handling from the goalkeeping. He just reads it all wrong, and it's a calamity error, isn't it? It really is.
Well, you'd like to think you've got a goalkeeping expert on here tonight, but he's back in the studio. But no, it's a horrendous error. I mean, it's gone straight through his hands. The goalkeeper, I think, John, you mentioned at the start of the game, is moving to Germany in the summer. The deal's already done, and looking at this replay, I'm sure Copenhagen are happy the deal's done already, because that's poor defenders. The Champions League, it's top end level football. It's a really bad mistake from the goalkeeper.
No, Copenhagen coming here tonight with the task that was on their hands. They've conceded 2 goals in the first 9 minutes. The first is simple as you like, really, from a corner, and then a terrible mistake.
Sorry. So the second goal as well, he could have scored from the corner direct again. Yeah. Off the crossbar. It's horrendous defending. As I say, you can get cut open by Man City, but 2 set plays and they've been undone.
Yeah, Rodri with the back post header. He was all alone at the back post, headed against the bar, could easily have headed it in. So Manchester City 2, Copenhagen 0. Akanji and Alvarez the goal scorers, and that is 5-1 on aggregate, and we've still got 80 minutes to play. So Copenhagen, this is their first attack of the match. El Yunusi slipping the ball forward, but that is read by Diaz, and Manchester City have got it back on the edge of their own penalty area. So 2 matches obviously underway in the last 16 of the Champions League tonight. Real Madrid taking a 1-0 lead over Leipzig into the second leg at the Bernabeu. We'll hear more on that in a moment, but here is Alvarez over on the left hand side. Alvarez, who's just scored his 16th goal of the season, and there is a City player down.
Kovacic.
So just put the ball out of play, City.
Yeah, Kovacic just took a whack as he released the ball. Trollholt, who went close to him, and I think he almost just stood on his ankle, caused him a problem. I'm not sure what Ederson's doing.
He's sort of Ederson's standing in front of him. He's got both legs, he's got his hands on his boots, and
I think he's winded, lads. That's the problem. I think he's trying to get some air in, whatever way he's at it.
Yeah. He's sort of pumping air into his lungs.
He's done his medical test, Ederson, in the last couple of weeks, so he's took it into his own hands there, should we say.
Ever had that done to you, either of you?
No.
Thankfully.
In any setting. So it's a stoppage in play here. Manchester City 2-0 up on Copenhagen, 5-1 on aggregate. And let's get an update on how things have started between Real Madrid and Leipzig. That match is being monitored by John Akers.
12 minutes gone, Real Madrid 0, Leipzig 0. Bellingham playing as a false nine for Madrid, who've just had their first effort at goal. Vinicius Junior came off his shoulder, went to head it in between 2 defenders, went over the crossbar. Real 0, Leipzig 0.
Well, seems to have done the trick on Kovacic, who's back on his feet, and having received treatment. Ederson has come actually all the way across to Guardiola for a chat, and now Kovacic having come off the field, Guardiola is talking to him quite animatedly. He doesn't seem to be too worried about his oxygen intake anyway.
No, I think Ederson was just giving the all clear to the medical staff, letting them know everything was fine.
Dr. Ederson is in charge. So on he comes back onto the field, and Manchester City back up to the full complement. So Akanji and Alvarez, Manchester City, it would seem, already on the way to what will be yet another win. They've won every match they've played in this competition, the defending champions this season, and rather symmetrically scored 3 goals in every single match. 7 wins and 3 goals in every single match. And it is City in possession on the halfway line. I've got a feeling that run is going to come to an end tonight. Might end at 2, might be more than 3.
I've got a feeling it'll be more than 3. The big thing is for Manchester City is how they want to play this game out. It becomes a passing exercise at the back and just keep the ball, or do they want to go and score goals? And I think one big thing from Pep Guardiola's point of view is, I don't want injuries.
Yep, that's why he's made 7 changes tonight. So I think the message is clear there for Jurgen Klopp, as if he didn't know already. Here's Nunez now into the penalty area with a burst. It opens up. Ball played across to the edge of the 6-yard box, but Copenhagen are able to deal with that, although they've got it back. And Bob, left-footed ball into the back post, and Grabara comes across. There was a man arriving on the far post, Guardiol, but it is behind for a goal kick.
Well, luckily for for Copenhagen, Haaland slips at the back post, and would he have got on the end of it? It was fractions away from him.
Manchester City leading 2-0. 5 live from the BBC. Champions League. Copenhagen playing it dangerously out from the back. McKenna receiving it from Grabara, the goalkeeper, up towards Oskarsson on the halfway line, the centre forward. Now being taken forward down the left by Achuri, but 2 Manchester City players are with him, trying to find a way between the 2 of them. He's actually kept the ball in on the dead ball line, and Rodri comes across, and they've forced a corner.
Brilliant from Achuri. Looked like he was running the ball out of play down the line and managed to keep it in. A couple of step overs, little nutmegs, and then he just fires it off Rodri out for a corner. So that's good play by Achuri.
Copenhagen, who've already been to Manchester once this season, remember in the group when they were unlucky to lose 1-0. Remember the late penalty that was saved by Onana at Old Trafford in the group. So Manchester United won 1-0. Copenhagen were very impressive that night against Manchester United. Corner then for the visitors, which is taken in by Achuri and then fired back in from the edge of the penalty area, but high over the top of the bar from Clem, the midfielder, one of the teenagers, and Guardiola is standing there clapping his team's defensive work on the edge of his coaching area. So Manchester City leading by 2-0. A goal in the Cardiff-Huddersfield match in the Championship. Laura Kenyon.
Cardiff 1, Huddersfield 0. Famara Jeju with his first goal in Cardiff colours, deep in the box, swept it into the far corner as he slipped off balance. The side in a relegation scrap find themselves a goal down in South Wales. Cardiff 1, Huddersfield 0.
Back to the Riverside Stadium on Teesside, where it was Middlesbrough 0, Norwich 1, Rob Law.
It was, and it still is. Middlesbrough 0, Norwich 1, but Norwich down to 10 men, just as you got the feeling that David Wagner's side were dominating possession. Signs in late on Johnny Howson. Referee Robert Madley shows a straight red card. Borough 0, Norwich 1.
Manchester City on the attack. Guardiola cutting in from the left-hand side. Mateus Nunez. Here's Lewis, Rico Lewis. Back to Akanji, one of the goal scorers tonight, so 2-0. And Haaland's yet to get in on the act this evening. Manchester City parking themselves inside the Copenhagen half. So while they do that, let's get a first update of the night from QPR West Brom. Henry Moran.
Well, we've had 15 minutes, still goalless. QPR by far the better side, though, dominating possession, creating the chances, and Sam Parkin unlucky not to be ahead.
Yeah, a couple of half chances. Paul Smith probably with the best one. Silius Chair takes on the strike.
Oh, down goes the strike. The referee says no penalty. Cross comes in. They deserved it. QPR lead. 3 wins for the Bats, and they've started this game brilliantly.
Yeah, muchly deserved, I would say. I think it's Field that turns it in on the far post. He's been heavily involved in the opening 15 minutes or so. Really tactical match for QPR, starting to make chances in the last 5 minutes. West Brom a little bit uncharacteristically sloppy, trying to play out. They've been dispossessed there, and Field prospers at the far post.
QPR 1, West Brom 0.
So QPR in terrific form, having won their last 3 matches, now 1-0 up on promotion, chasing West Brom. That is certainly one of the matches of the night, and QPR in front. Still 2-0 to Manchester City here in our main commentary match. Manchester City on the way into the quarter-finals. The draw, by the way, is next week. It's a week on Friday, and that is the draw that is the quarter-finals and the semi-finals. And now Copenhagen breaking forward. Froholt's ball in from the right-hand side. Manchester City deal with it, and now here they are breaking forward towards the halfway line. Infield towards Rodri. Rodri, square from him to Mateus Nunez. Now Lewis at right back. Rico Lewis, who's not had a great deal of football of late, having, as I say, not started since January, and only 1 substitute appearance since then. So I felt it was fairly likely that he would be in the team tonight, playing at right back this evening.
Yeah, I really like him. I think he's an outstanding player. I think what he's shown is tactically he's very astute in the way he gets in that central midfield position, very comfortable with players in and around him. but you've just got to look at the form of Kyle Walker and how he's playing. Very difficult to sort of get in front of Kyle at the moment because he's been in great form.
Yeah, probably worth underlining the fact that the Manchester City bench tonight, you know, Jurgen Klopp would have expected these players to be starting anyway, wouldn't he, at Anfield on Sunday, but with Walker and Stones, Ake, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne and Foden all on the bench this evening, so I think you can very much write them into your team.
John, I think the other thing why Lewis probably hasn't played as much as well is when John Stones comes back in, you almost need Kyle Walker in that position to be able to cover. I think because of his pace and being able to read the play the way he does, I'm not sure Rico Lewis has them attributes that Kyle has.
Ankerson has burst forward down the right hand side, the right wing back. That means there are spaces at the back. Manchester City looking to exploit as it's played through to Haaland, but Vavro slides in, the Slovakia international, and puts that out of play for a throw down the left hand side. As City play from left to right towards the end where all of the Copenhagen fans are. Oscar Bob, who's playing in quite a central area, isn't he? Can play on either side, but he's been given a central role this evening, and here he is now on the edge of the penalty area, playing the ball into Haaland inside the box, went for the shot, blocked by a defender, and it bounces away from goal and behind for another corner.
Yeah, quite possibly wasn't on for Haaland to get that snapshot away. Just bounced up on his first touch and snapped at it, trying to find it possibly through the defender's legs. It's a shot that he likes to try and take on. It leads to another corner. How are they going to defend this one?
Yep, they conceded a goal from the first one to Akanji. From the second one, Rodri headed against the bar. This one, low delivery in, looking for Oscar Bob. Defender got in there first. Froholt it was who came in and popped it out of play. So another second consecutive corner from the left-hand side.
There's a huge space around the back, John. I mean, they've got a cluster of players, Manchester City. If they block and they get the ball right, the back post is on.
Yeah, here it is then, Alvarez with this latest corner, and that's where it goes to the back post, and Grabara backpedaling along his goal line, just pushed it over the crossbar, but the referee says there was a foul by Akanji on Ankerson, and it's a free kick to Copenhagen in their 6-yard box. So Manchester City leading on the night by 2-0 and on aggregate by 5-1. Back to the Women's League Cup semi-final. Flo Pollock.
Arsenal have just had a goal disallowed, still Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 0, offside against Frida Maanum. 3 minutes into the second half, Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 0.
By the way, you can watch that on the BBC Sport website if you wish. Manchester City 2-0 up, and it is a 5 Live final score night tonight as well. I'm not sure we've mentioned that, have we? So the graphics, the video printer, 5 Live final score on the red button, the iPlayer, and the BBC Sport app, where you can listen to the 5 Live commentary and access all of that if you click on 5 Live final score. Back to Middlesbrough, Rob Law.
Middlesbrough 1, Norwich 1, 37 minutes in. Borough make the extra man advantage count. A low cross into the area from Lucas Engel, a goal-mouth scramble, and Marcus Forss on hand to level it up. Borough 1, Norwich 1.
Still Real Madrid 0, Leipzig 0, so 1-0 Madrid on aggregate. I noticed that Jude Bellingham is a yellow card away from suspension. Only one of the Manchester City players is on a yellow card. That's Ruben Diaz, which would mean another yellow card, be out of the first leg of the quarter-final. Here's Akanji on the right-hand side, and then Lewis goes back into his own half. What are you thinking at the moment, Shay Given?
Well, it's relatively comfortable, John. I think it's nearly too easy. I don't know what they say. City have started really well, of course. I think poor defending from Copenhagen, and it's, you know, Stephen, it's probably it feels like a bit like a training game, a possession-based game, you know, attack v defence a little bit, and they're in cruise control really. So, you know, Copenhagen will be kicking themselves for giving away 2 easy goals really.
Here's Bob receives the ball 30 yards out, goes through a couple of challenges, now tries to work it to Lewis, who was a bit late on that. Yeller just slipped in, the left wing back, but it comes to nothing on the halfway line, bounces off the teenage striker Oskarsson, and Manchester City have got it back on the halfway line. And Kovacic just sees Rodri, who lifts the ball forward for Bob, who controls it on the edge of the penalty area, tries to turn between the 2 Copenhagen defenders who are with him, bounces out to Lewis, then back in field to Rodri. A little bit of a shimmy from Rodri, then in from Lewis. Bob in the area on the right hand side, tries to work it across, took a couple of deflections, and Copenhagen cleared away, and then Diaz wins the header against Oskarsson, and Manchester City start again.
It's so interesting watching the senior players of Manchester City. They're just making sure that they keep the ball, and
Rodri playing it in, Vavros gets up to head it down and away for Copenhagen.
But then you watch Oscar Bob and you watch Rico Lewis. They're really seeing this as an opportunity to show Pep what they can do. They know game time's limited. They're making the most of it. Oscar Bob, every time he gets on the ball, is trying to make something happen. He's trying to showcase exactly what he can do.
Yeah, his 6th start for the Manchester City first team in competitive matches for the Norwegian, the 20-year-old Oscar Bob. Scored that brilliant goal, didn't he, at Newcastle, and actually scored in the Champions League, if you remember, as well, in the final group match against Red Star Belgrade, as City made it 6 wins out of 6 in the group. It is City in possession on the halfway line, and back they go into their own half. Pep Guardiola watching on the corner of the technical area, arms crossed, already comfortable this for Manchester City. Guardiola, who's won 13 of the 14 round of 16 ties that he's been involved in as a manager in the Champions League. Manchester City, as Copenhagen sit back behind the ball. Manchester City with it, just trying to find the pass through. In fact, Kovacic plays it cross-field. It's headed away by Yellert, straight to Lewis. Now Akanji. Akanji then back towards the halfway line. And so we'll go back to QPR and Henry Moran.
An equaliser for West Brom, pretty much their first attack, and the Celtic loanee Mikey Johnston, 4 goals now, and this is a belter. Top corner, in off the post. QPR 1, West Brom 1.
Yes, he's a real favourite, isn't he, Johnston? So 1-1, QPR 1, West Brom 1. Still Watford 0, Swansea 1, Middlesbrough 0, Norwich 1, and QPR 1, Huddersfield 0. Beg your pardon, Middlesbrough 1, Norwich 1. After that, Marcus Forss equaliser. So 2-0, Manchester City lead. 25 minutes played, and Manchester City having scored the 2 goals. It's almost like a training exercise for this Manchester City team now.
It is completely, and it's almost one of those games where Pep Guardiola will have looked at it and said, this is almost the perfect exercise to give fringe players an opportunity to get something in the legs. But they're not even being tested at all. So they're just rotating the ball, trying things. It's nothing really in this game at all now. And you can almost see Guardiola's watching it thinking, I'm not that fussed. Usually he's so animated on the sideline. He's not animated at all. He's just stood there watching and just almost, enjoy the occasion. Yeah,
Lewis put under pressure by McKenna and can only concede a goal kick for Copenhagen. So a goal kick for the Danish champions, who have had an extraordinary campaign in this competition this season. They played 6 matches just to reach the group stage, and as you'll recall, the group involving Bayern Munich and Galatasaray and Manchester United was a real thriller, with twists and turns all the way through, and Copenhagen, great credit to them. They'll have done the Danish coefficient no harm by getting through to the round of 16, but I think we can be pretty sure that this is where it ends. And Manchester City are coming forward again. Here's Guardiola on the left-hand side. Bob makes himself available and then slips a little pass forward, but that is won back by Ankersen for Copenhagen. And the clearance is cut out, so Manchester City have got it back again. It just seems that every time Copenhagen get it away, they're just giving possession back to Manchester City. And I think we know what sooner or later will be the net result of that.
I think the big thing is, though, I'm looking at this. I might be completely different. I probably am, and that's why he's the manager. But I'm thinking, why is Rodri still on the pitch?
Well, I was looking at that as well. I'm thinking, who can he protect for Sunday? I'm looking at Haaland, I'm looking at Rodri, maybe Diaz.
Yeah,
get them off.
I'm thinking, get the
probably
young
half
kids
time,
on.
Stephen.
This is the perfect time. I know, but even now, why take that opportunity, that chance?
Yeah.
It's a coldish night. Hamstring injuries, any type of muscle fatigue from the weekend. Get them off the pitch.
Manchester City in possession in the central third. Back to QPR, Henry Moran.
Where West Brom have turned it around. Grady Diangana finding room in the box, firing across Begovic and home. Sam Parkin, this game has turned on its head.
25 minutes, we didn't see West Brom all of a sudden. And then Fellows on the opposite side, brilliant wing play, and Diangana, 2-touch, great control, and then a beautiful finish with his right foot. And that, in a nutshell, is West Brom. So clinical at one end, don't need many chances, and a 2-1 ahead.
Well. Copenhagen score. El Yunusi running the ball to the edge of the Manchester City box, played a 1-2 with Oskarsson, beautifully returned into his path, and the former Southampton man on his right foot just stroked it in from 12 yards to make it 2-1 on the night.
Well, I said, what do I know and what does Guardiola know? That's why you don't put the kids on too early. Make sure that you see out this game in the first half. El Yunusi playing in that wider role, and he drives at the heart of Manchester City, and then he plays a lovely little 1-2. Diaz tries to hold on the line, and Kovacic can't get close enough, and then El Yunusi bends it into the far corner. Think of Haaland's goal at the weekend where he just opens his body up and strokes it into the bottom corner. Really smart finish from El Yunusi. Well, do we have a game on our hands?
Do we, Shay?
I've got my fingers out now. What's that? We're looking at 5-2. Would that be right?
That is right. Yeah, well done.
I mean, it's a big uphill task already, but it's a brilliant goal from El Yunusi. It really is a brilliant 1-2 on the edge of the box, and it's a fantastic finish.
Here they come again. Confidence has been raised by the goal back for the Danish champions, and now Jellert lifts it across the penalty area. Froholt is out there, but it comes off his head and bounces out of play for a Manchester City throw near the corner flag. Back to Middlesbrough. Rob Law.
Middlesbrough 2, Norwich 1. Emmanuel Latte-Lath has just put a dent in David Wagner's playoff ambitions. Another cross into the box, this time from Matt Clark, and Lath had the freedom of Teesside to control it and sweep it home. A minute to go until half-time. Middlesbrough 2, Norwich 1.
And that is the score here at the Etihad Stadium as well. Manchester City 2, FC Copenhagen 1. And history's repeating itself, Stephen, after we were in Copenhagen for the first leg. And in the opening stages of that match, we thought Manchester City were going to get an absolute hatful, and then suddenly Maatsen scored in that match.
And we remember the sort of lift it gave Copenhagen. They suddenly got a belief, they got a little bit of an extra spring in the step, and they caused Manchester City a few problems in that game. Could they now get that belief again? Could they now start to believe that they can get back in the game?
Half-time in the Cardiff-Huddersfield match, Laura Kenyon.
Cardiff 1, Huddersfield 0. The home side lead through for Jeju, off balance but on target on the half-hour mark. Huddersfield not outplayed but haven't taken their chances and remain perched above bottom three on goal difference alone. 1-0 Cardiff.
Copenhagen have a free kick in the central third. Fired forward, looking for McKenna. It's only half-headed out to the edge of the area, and a rather hurried clearance from Kovacic on the edge of the box. And suddenly, Copenhagen are a changed team and really ruined the way that they gave away those 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. So 2-1 on the night, 5-2 on aggregate. And here is El Yunusi, the man who's just scored his 9th goal of the season, and just giving the ball to the left-hand side. McKenna joins in, and then Jellert gives it back, and Copenhagen go back towards the halfway line. This is the longest period of possession I think the Danish side have had in the match so far. And the right back, Ankersen, will swing it across field. That's taken down on the left-hand side by Achuri, weaving one way and the other. Achuri's shot is blocked by Lewis. It comes out to Vavro, the central defender, who goes for a low shot into the box. That's blocked on the edge of the area. Suddenly the game has changed. Vavro plays it in. That's headed down and away. Again, Copenhagen win it back, but it bounces to Bob, although Dix is there for Copenhagen to intercept it on the halfway line. But again, knocking it around nicely. Suddenly
they're starting to pick up the second ball as well, John, in midfield, which they weren't doing at all early on in this game, as they come down the left-hand side again.
They do, with Achuri. And Achuri passes it back to corner of the box. McKenna. Suddenly Copenhagen flooding players forward, and rather carelessly they get themselves caught offside, and it's a free kick to Manchester City. My friend from Denmark was telling me that a lot of the talk this week has been of a famous, very famous Danish match in Europe, which they called the Miracle of Madrid, when Odense, OB Odense, back in the 90s, lost the first leg 3-2 to Real Madrid in a UEFA Cup tie, and that's when Michael Laudrup was part of that Real Madrid side. Nobody gave Odense a chance in the second leg, and they went and won 2-0 and went through, knocked out Real Madrid in the UEFA Cup. So they called that the Miracle of Madrid, and they were looking tonight for the Miracle of Manchester. Well, when they were 2-0 down here with less than 10 minutes played, it was a double miracle I think they were looking for, but suddenly they've come to life. 2-1 tonight it is to Manchester City, 5-2 on aggregate. Back to Middlesbrough, Rob Law.
And it's half-time. Middlesbrough 2, Norwich 1. David Wagner's side started at pace, got the early goal through Ashley Barnes, but on the half-hour mark that game flipped on its head. Norwich reduced to 10 men. Barnes Signs shown a straight red card after he kicked out on Borough's Johnny Howson, and it didn't take long for Borough to make that advantage count. 2 goals in the space of 7 minutes. The first, Marcus Force. The second, Emmanuel Latte laughed. How quickly fortunes can change. Borough 2, Norwich 1.
Half-time at Vicarage Road as well in the Championship, where it is Watford 0, Swansea 1. City on the attack. Haaland plays it into Alvarez, but as he tried to get the shot in, there was a defender there and the shot was just deflected, took the pace off it, back through to goalkeeper Grabara. So Watford 0, Swansea 1, as Swansea go for 3 wins in a row. It would be for them. Much needed in their position near the too close to the relegation zone for their liking. 2-1, Manchester City lead, and Copenhagen with the ball at the back. Here is Yellert. He just takes a touch, gives it back to McKenna, passes it forward towards the edge of the box, where a falling Clem swings a right-footed pass to Ankerson, and then Froholt is forced to run it back into his own half. So Manchester City just having to think a little bit after the El Yunusi goal. That's been a theme of the season, hasn't it? Manchester City, despite their domination in this 3-month-long unbeaten run, there has been this tendency to leak goals.
Which is not a good habit, is it, John, if you want to go and win the Champions League again? I mean, that's the frustrating thing from a Man City point of view tonight. And Ederson, of course, will love to have kept a clean sheet. Now that it's out the window, looking just at Man City's backline, there's a lot of space in behind them, and sometimes, you know, Copenhagen are playing to a good point up to the half-way line. Sometimes just spin it down the side because there's a lot of space between the back four and Ederson.
Ball played out here to the left-hand side, and Yellow controls it. First time touch from El Yunusi, just kept in on the left-hand side by Achuri, so they're pouring forward again, the Danish side. And then back to El Yunusi and Scott McKenna, again on the left wing. Achuri, right-footed ball curled in nicely to Oskarsson, the tall, fair-haired Icelandic player. Then again Achuri runs his foot over the ball. The confidence has absolutely flooded back into this Copenhagen side after that goal. And then McKenna is pulled up, just a flailing arm, caught Bob, who's a much smaller man. Just as he swung his arms, he caught him round about the head, went down, free kick, Manchester City. Yeah, just one of those decisions that McKenna's not happy with at all, because, like you say, John, it's just a size difference. He puts his arm out almost that it go into anyone else's chest, but it just goes into the face of Oscar Bob, and he goes down like he's in a scene out of Platoon. I mean, he hits the deck like I mean, there was no need for that, was there? No, but he's got the free kick. So Manchester City,
terrible foul that. It was a red card, that, Stephen.
Manchester City with the ball in the central third of the field. So you will hear Manchester City at Liverpool on Sunday on 5 Live. It's quite a day on Sunday. Aston Villa, Tottenham, followed by Liverpool against Manchester City. Two really big games as we continue to bring you more Premier League commentaries than anywhere else. 6 Nations commentaries this weekend as well. Crystal Palace Luton is the 3 o'clock kickoff, and Arsenal Brentford as well, with England Ireland being played. That will be on 5 Live, and Arsenal Brentford will start on Sports Extra. Basically, you have to have your wits about you with your BBC Sounds app this weekend, as Rico Lewis gives the ball through to Mateus Nunes, who tries to go around the outside of El Yunusi, who battled back really well, actually dispossessed him, and then down goes Yellert under not much pressure from Lewis, and it's a free kick to Copenhagen in their own left back position. If Copenhagen can win the ball quickly and hit it a diagonal to the right hand side, their right hand side and Manchester City's left, Kovacic is ending up playing as a left-sided centre half. Guardiola is playing as a left wing back or a left winger. Rico Lewis is high up the pitch. Diaz is playing centrally on his own. Target Kovacic. He's not going to want to run back. He's not quick enough to cover the ground to get back as well. I don't think he'll be too happy playing as deep as he is. So on this coolish night in Manchester, City, the holders, leading Copenhagen by 2-1, and with every second that ticks by, they're getting closer to that place in the quarter-finals. We're also keeping you across the tennis in faraway Indian Wells. Jack Draper's playing tonight. That's where Russell Fuller is.
Yes, 8 time zones away, no less, John. And Jack Draper is now level at 1-1 with Christopher O'Connell. The Australian has won the second set of this first round match by 6-3.
Thank you, Russell. Yeah, lots and lots of live sport over the coming days. Obviously the test match, the final test match between England and India, so we'll have plenty of updates on that. The Saudi Arabian sport as well this week. Tomorrow we'll have commentary on Sports Extra on first practice ahead of the Grand Prix, which is Saturday again this week. And then the boxing is on Friday night, live from Saudi Arabia from round about 9 o'clock onwards. There is a lengthy card of boxing, but obviously top of the bill is the Joshua Ngannou fight, so we'll hear that on 5 Live on Friday night. Manchester City trying to play the ball through the middle. Haaland not on the score sheet yet tonight, doesn't get to that. Dix is able to clear it away, and Manchester City continue to lead by 2-1. Are they any closer to an opening goal in the other Champions League match tonight? John Akers?
No, it's not great this. Real Madrid 0, Leipzig 0. Real Madrid lead 1-0 on aggregate. Don't rule out a miracle in Madrid though. Leipzig have been the better side so far and had the best chance. Openda dragged wide after 16 minutes. Real 0, Leipzig 0.
Alvarez trying to find a shooting position in the box, which he does actually from the right side of the area, but a defender took the pace off that, and Copenhagen were able to clear away. Combination between Haaland and Alvarez.
Yeah, really good link up between the two, and I think Haaland wanted a little back heel from Alvarez. He was a little bit selfish in trying to get the shot away himself. Alvarez always a tight angle, but it's just slowed down the pace of the game. Manchester City have slowed that pace down because they realise that being a good reaction from Copenhagen.
Manchester City halfway inside the Copenhagen half. Still Pep Guardiola just watching very calmly, arms folded. Alvarez now just on the edge of the D, from not far away from where Marcus Rashford scored that goal in the Manchester derby on Sunday afternoon, and Copenhagen are able to dispossess him, and then it's played back by McKenna to goalkeeper Grabara, who will be absolutely... He'll be furious with himself, won't he, Shay, the way that he conceded the second goal tonight.
Well, we've all been there. We've all made mistakes, John, so he's got to park it up now. He's got to park it till after the game and, sit down tomorrow, whatever his goalkeeping coach, what should he have done better. Obviously, he should have kept it out of the net, but at the same time, he's got the rest of this game to play. He has to focus on what's in hand and stay focused, keep his mind focused as much as anything. Yeah,
we actually have been there, Shay. Here's the ball down the left-hand side with Achuri into the full-back position, still going into the box. He's got support. Achuri curls it across. It took a flick off one of the City defenders, which takes it right out towards the far side, and then the offside flag is up, and it is a free kick to Manchester City on the edge of their own penalty area. Yes, as an amateur goalkeeper, Shay, I've let in a few like that, I have to tell you, in my time.
Sometimes, John, it's too easy. It was actually that easy. Like Alvarez's shot was like nearly too easy. You're thinking about what you're going to do distribution wise, and you actually forget to deal with the shot, and it's a real poor mistake.
Yeah. So that was the second goal. Akanji and Alvarez, the scorers of those early goals. Alvarez was the one who benefited from the goalkeeping mistake. It was sort of just slippery hands, wasn't it? Fingers up, just above his head.
And Stephen used to call me Butterfingers if I had done one of them in training, didn't you, Stephen? He's giving me the look now.
Oh, absolutely. You hated it as well, didn't you?
Raging.
It happened every day.
I can't believe that. I find that very hard.
I'll speak to you off air, yeah.
So 2-1 Manchester City lead, half-time 3 minutes away, and Manchester City with the ball just inside their own half. Well, it looked like they were going to have a field day after the opening 10 minutes, but it hasn't turned out that way.
No, they've responded well, haven't they, Copenhagen, because you could have sat back and felt sorry for yourselves, but at least they've had a go, at least they've tried. When they've got the ball, and it's not easy to get the ball off Manchester City, that's the one thing, but when they have, they've been progressive, they've tried to attack in numbers, and they've retained the ball well themselves when they have got it back.
Mateus Nunes is tripped by William Clem, who's the 19-year-old. He's been out injured this season, and that is the thing as well, again, just to restate it, that Copenhagen, without some of their most experienced players tonight, and bringing in Clem and Froholt, who are teenagers, barely played this season. So this is a very steep learning curve for these young men. Free kick conceded by him. So free kick to Manchester City, that Alvarez, who, given the fact that he came into the Manchester City setup last season, has never lost a match, never been on the losing side in the Champions League, Alvarez. And this is his 15th appearance in the competition. And Alvarez, having scored tonight, right-footed ball into the box, that's headed up and away by Vavro, only just clears the penalty area, bounces down, chipped forward by Achuri, but chested down by Alvarez near the halfway line. Now here is Lewis with that lengthy black hair of his bobbing as he plays it back into the centre circle. Back to Lewis again, hair bobbing. He does have Bob available just ahead of him, but he goes out to the right hand side to Akanji, then back to Rico Lewis, who just touches it back to Diaz on the halfway line. Akanji now carefully passes that to Mateus Nunes, then Lewis. It looks as though he's been invited to step into the central area, doesn't it, Rico Lewis, which he's very happy to do. And now Rodri, little ball from him to his left to Bob. Gvardiol is out there on the left hand side, the fourth official, just coming forward with his board. And Manchester City forcing Copenhagen further back as it's flighted into the back post. Mateus Nunes plays it across. Grabara was beaten by the bouncing ball, and he needed McKenna to come in and head it over the top, but the referee spotted, was that an offside flag?
Yeah.
And it's a free kick to Copenhagen.
But the vision from Rodri in that central midfield position, we talk about his ability off the ball and his reading and understanding of the game, but his diagonal balls to that right hand side, his vision is second to none. They just go ever so slightly early there, and Cabrera was very, very thankful to McKenna, who put it over the bar, who wasn't to know that the offside flag had gone up.
2-1 Manchester City lead, Shay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a comfortable half. I mean, the aggregate score, it's a bit of a, I'm not saying a non-event, obviously it's a massive Champions League game, but at the same time, the scoreline, even the atmosphere is quiet inside the stadium. You know, the players are sort of not going through the motions as such, but it feels like the job's done. I know it's not done, but it's even difficult from a psychological point of view to I don't know what does Pep say second, you know, at half time for the second half. What does he say to these players? You know, we have to keep the standards up, we have to keep pushing forward, we have to get the next goal. I'm not so sure. You know, it's a difficult sort of mindset where the players are at the minute.
Yeah, fouled by Rodri, just a bit of a clumsy challenge really, as much as anything else on Dick. So it's a free kick to Copenhagen halfway inside their own half. So 3 minutes of added time. The Norwegian fourth official has come forward, the referee Espen Eskås, who's from Norway, but the Norwegian for Manchester City still not got in on the act as Achuri overhits the pass for Yellowt, and that is through for a goal kick.
Well, what you would say, John, in that instant, but look at the many bodies they've committed for Copenhagen. They have really flooded the box, so they still think there's something on second half. They still think they've got an opportunity, and if they get the next goal, there could be some sort of miracle perhaps, because the City players maybe think they've got the job done already.
Listen, this is the third time I've commentated on them this season, and they have a bit about them. There's no question about that. You know, in terms of man for man, clearly Manchester City, the quality are streets ahead, but they've got a bit of character, this side coached by Jakob Næstrup. And I've got a feeling we might well see him again, the Copenhagen coach, bright young thing, 35 years old, 36 on Friday. Bright young thing in terms of management, that is.
They'll be bitterly disappointed with the start from the set piece, because you just get the feeling Clem and Froholt in midfield were a little bit in awe of the Man City team and thinking, I don't really want to go tight, don't really want to press, and you stand off them because you know how good the players are. Well, now they've started to show them respect in a different way by getting closer to them, by trying to stop them getting the heads up and making the game easy, and now we're starting to see a little bit more of a competitive game from Copenhagen.
Stephen Warnock and Shay Given with us for the commentary tonight. Long ball played forward to Haaland. Alarm bells ringing now. Haaland onto his left foot, shoots, and it's in. Turned the defenders one way and the other, and the big Norwegian on his left foot shot low as Grabara dived down to his right into the back of the net. Haaland to score his 29th goal of the season and make it Manchester City 3, Copenhagen 1, and a jump in the air of celebration from the Norwegian for the goal against the Danes.
Well, I just said it was becoming a little bit more of a contest, and it's not. Rodri with that magnificent vision again, and the quality of the pass into Haaland on the run. It's almost like a quarterback trying to find someone in the end zone, and he finds it inch perfectly onto the toe of Haaland. And then as he comes inside, he's actually faced with two Copenhagen players, and he's thinking, get tight, at least one of you. But he goes through the legs of McKenna, wrongs foot Grabara into the bottom right hand corner, And City are very, very comfortable now.
And there's the whistle for half-time. Manchester City 3-1 up, so matching the scoreline in the first leg, 6-2 on aggregate. Shay, view on that goal?
Yeah, I mean, Pep's team talk, I talked about his team talk literally about 3 or 4 minutes ago, saying it's going to be difficult team talk. Now it's a lot easier with Haaland's goal, and of course Erling Haaland will be buzzing as well, because that's obviously 6-2 in aggregate, if my maths are right again, but 6-2 in aggregate, and that's the first goal he scored in the 6, so does Pep make changes at half-time? Does he bring him off? Because we talked about already the size of the game at the weekend. Why risk Haaland or Rodri? Stephen rightly mentions is spraying balls over the pitch, but you don't want him to pull something second half when we all believe the job's done.
He'd actually not scored in his last 4 appearances in the knockout stages of the Champions League, and as we mentioned right at the start of the programme, Kane and Mbappe have gone past him in the Champions League this season, but he's now there alongside them on 6 goals.
Again, his interview yesterday, he was like, we won everything last year, but I scored at the weekend, but I want to score. What about the chance I missed? Sometimes as a top striker, sometimes they play in your mind as much as the goals. And he's like, I need to score tonight. I need to prove to people again, prove to myself that I'm a top striker. Of course, as you mentioned, 29 goals this season already. He's absolutely flying again. But will he want to stay on? Will Pep let him stay on second half? Because as I say, wrap him up for Sunday.
Yeah, well, you'd think he wouldn't see the course tonight, but we'll see. What a funny half that was. 3-1 at the break. Akanji and Alvarez with the goals in the first 10 minutes. Then El Yunusi gets one back for Copenhagen, but Haaland right at the end of the half. So 3-1 on the night, 6-2 on aggregate at the break.
I mean, I can't believe the three of you were trying to create some sort of jeopardy at 2-1.
Well, it's our job. What do you want us to do, chappers?
Well, it's a good question, really. I'm not sure what you're meant to do. I mean, now the big question.
We should have just put our mics down and walked off.
Yeah.
Job done.
But now
we're going home.
But that's, look, it's not Manchester City's fault, this, is it? But it does feel at times when you do nights like this that we're simply just going through the motions to get to City, Real Madrid, probably Bayern, probably Paris Saint-Germain, another English side in the past, maybe another couple of English sides. We just go through the motions until...
Wait till next year's format.
Last 4. Pardon? I know.
It has felt like that, hasn't it, in this round of 16, which is just the way that it's happened to fall. But that's sport, isn't it? I mean, in another season you could end up with a range of exciting matches in the last 16.
I know, John, it's certainly not our fault. We're here, in the cold, trying to do a job, trying to do our best. It's not good enough for Mark back in the warm studio, is it?
Our best.
Do you know what I mean?
That's all we can do. We can only do your best.
I'm not sure how you three have twisted that, but there we are. Thank you very much. Well, having worked with Shay several times, I'm exactly sure how he's twisted that. But there we are. John, Stephen, Shay, thank you. Second half on the way. What might happen? Let's go to QPR against West Brom. Henry Moran.
Half-time whistles just blown. QPR 1, West Brom 2. All 3 goals in 9 minutes. First, Sam Field tapped home against his former club. That gave QPR the lead. Then another stunner from Celtic loanee Mikey Johnston leveled things up for QPR. Grady Diangana then found room in the box to complete the turnaround. QPR have been the better side, but they do find themselves behind at the break. QPR 1, West Brom 2. Former Ipswich and Luton striker Sam Parkin is alongside me. It's been a funny old half, this.
It has. In between the goals, I'm not just covering my own back here, but it has been quite cagey, hasn't it? I mean, West Brom have had 2 shots and scored 2 goals, which is just incredible. The one thing that's not been normal about West Bromwich Albion is probably the amount of opportunities they've allowed QPR at the opposite end. I think QPR have been really good. They played with intensity, aggression from the front. The ball's turned over a number of times, and they've had a number of half chances as well. So, I mean, Carlos Corberán always looks mildly furious, and we've got a monitor above us, and he certainly looked angry for the majority of that first half. So that tells the story. QPR have been the better side.
Yep, they have, certainly. It's QPR 1, West Brom 2, but doesn't necessarily tell the story, chappers.
OK, so West Brom 2-1 up at QPR. By the way, the other game in the Champions League this evening, Real Madrid and Leipzig, and they are goalless. Real Madrid 1 up from the first leg. Let's get details of that first half. Here's John Akers.
Cool, it's been poor, I tell you what. But Leipzig, you were saying there's a formula. We're just waiting for Real to get into the semi-finals. Leipzig have got a really good opportunity here, and they've had 3 really good looks at goal in that first half, but they've been wasteful as they were in the first leg. Openda's had a good chance. Simons as well's had a really good effort. Bellingham playing as a false nine's barely had a touch for Real. They've not had a shot at goal. They do lead 1-0 on aggregate, but they've got to be better in the second half, or there could be an upset. Real 0, Leipzig 0.
Speaking of games that are going through the motions with absolutely no jeopardy on them whatsoever, Flo Pollock.
Yeah, no jeopardy here, Mark. I'm just doing my best. Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 0. 10 minutes left to play. Arsenal have dominated this semi-final. Aston Villa only just got their first shot on target in this second half. Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 0.
The 7:45 games in the Championship are back underway. So Cardiff are a goal up on Huddersfield. Middlesbrough lead 10-man Norwich by 2-1. And Vicarage Road, Watford 0, Swansea 1. If you get a chance, I'm sure it's on social media, to see Ryan Andrews' own goal in that game. I mean, calamitous doesn't do it justice, really. But Watford 0, Swansea 1. 5 to 9, this is 5 Live. Dan Morsley has the news.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good evening. The Chancellor has presented a budget which he says will promote long-term growth. Jeremy Hunt cut national insurance by 2p and said the threshold at which child benefit starts to taper off would be raised from £50,000 to £60,000. In an interview after the budget, Mr Hunt said the measures would help people.
Even if you take account of the thresholds, what you will see next year is a big cut in taxation for families earning the average income. It's a significant cut.
The Liberal Democrats described the national insurance cut as a swindle, claiming the average worker would be worse off overall. Labour called the budget a last desperate act. Russia has launched a missile strike on the Ukrainian city of Odessa while the Greek Prime Minister was being shown round the port by President Zelensky. According to Greek media, a missile landed about 150 metres from the two leaders. No one from either delegation was hurt. Yemen's Houthi movement has said it carried out an attack on a commercial ship in the Gulf of Aden. It killed at least 2 people. 6 others were injured in the incident off the coast of southern Yemen. And there's no game in the Championship between Southampton and Preston North End tonight. That's because of a huge fire this afternoon in a set of industrial units right next to Southampton's St Mary's ground. Our BBC Radio Solent colleagues have been speaking to fans.
Yeah, I've just driven from Norwich to come down to watch the game. It's taken about 4 hours to get here. Yeah, gutted.
I was on my way home from work. I had a team meeting up in London and I'd just come off the motorway to go back to my house and I just see the plume of smoke.
The smoke could be seen from quite a distance. Never seen anything like this before.
Well, as mentioned there, that smoke could be seen from some distance. Firefighters are expected to be there through the night and into tomorrow. Paul Reddish is from Hampshire Fire and Rescue.
We believe inside the units, they're plastic storage units, so lots of plastics inside that have caught fire, lots of high fire loading in those industrial units, and that is the reason for the smoke plumes.
Well, the new date for the Preston game is yet to be announced. Southampton said they hope fans would understand that safety comes first.
When you listen to Radio 2, you never know what might happen.
Boss the school run with Zoe Ball.
Wakey, wakey, gang. Wake me up before you go. Power through your morning with Vernon Kay.
Full house, superb.
Oh, I'm going to have to lie down now, I think.
Become totally T-voted with Sarah Cox.
What a tune. Cruise through the late shift with Trevor Nelson.
This is how we do it.
So join in anytime.
And make every day less every day.
With BBC Radio 2.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is 5 Live Sport with Mark Chapman.
On 5 Live. Listen on BBC Sounds.
Manchester City 3, Copenhagen 1 at half-time, 6-2 to City on aggregate. Goalless between Real Madrid and Leipzig. Real Madrid 1-0 up on aggregate. Let's go around the 7:45s in the Championship. They're 10 minutes or so into the second half. We'll start at the Riverside. Rob Law.
Still Middlesbrough 2, Norwich 1. Just a word on the sending off for Norwich. Had a chance to see it again during the half-time break. It seems very harsh on Signs. At least that was the common consensus in the press room. As it stands, Norwich will remain a point outside of the playoff places. A big second half to come for David Wagner's side.
And next to Cardiff, Huddersfield. Cardiff, if they win this, just 7 points off the playoffs. Laura Kenyon.
Yeah, and they've had just 3 shots on target, but Cardiff lead Huddersfield by a goal to nil. Really even, certainly nothing like the 4-0 thrashing Huddersfield suffered in the reverse fixture. New manager Andre Breitenreiter making 2 changes at the break. Jaheim Headley and Alex Matos on for Brodie Spencer and Ben Wiles. A big half for his side. No daylight between them and bottom 3. Cardiff 1, Huddersfield 0.
Let's go back to the tennis in Indian Wells. Russell Fuller watching Jack Draper.
Jack Draper level at 1-set-all with Christopher O'Connell of Australia. Won the first set 6-1, but looked like he was struggling in the second set. The Australian played very, very well. Took it by 6 games to 3. Remember, Draper had a bout of food poisoning in Acapulco last week. That forced his retirement from the semi-final. It certainly affected his preparations for Indian Wells. And then a very long opening game of the third set in which Draper saved 4 break points and then came out and broke O'Connell to love. So he leads the decider by 2 games to love. Andy Murray plays David Goffin later, and Katie Boulter, the British women's number 1, will start very shortly against Camilla Giorgi of Italy.
All about the Europa League tomorrow night here on 5 Live. We'll have commentary from 5:30 on Sparta Prague against Liverpool. Mo Salah back in training for Jurgen Klopp's side, who have got 9 players injured, and Manchester City to come on Sunday.
Mo Salah travelled with us. That's what he was asking, and what the idea is with him. So, full of energy, we have to see. But it's so good that he's back. That's really good for us, and you can see in his face he's very happy. Very unlikely situation with that being that long out, in for a moment if you want at Brentford. Played an incredible game there and was out again. So that's how it is. We want to be careful. We have to be careful, but we're in the middle of a super intense period of the season. We need everybody, and now let's see how long we can use him and these kind of things. That's how it is with him, with others as well. 2 days in team training. So in a different situation, players are not in the squad in this moment. So, but in our situation makes sense. What can we give him? How much can we use him? We will see that.
Pat Nevin will be part of our commentary team for Sparta Prague against Liverpool and is in the Czech capital now. It's the complete opposite for Klopp that it is for Guardiola this evening. I mean, he's got the luxury of doing whatever he wants with his squad, it would appear, whereas Klopp, it's needs must.
Yeah, to some degree, but the things that Jurgen Klopp has done this season, time and again you think, oh, he's not got enough players, and then he's bringing in youngsters that are just playing so fabulously well. And the way he's managed the squad, he's placed players out of position then that have just waltzed into it and looked fantastic. So I think his management of the situations that he's been in has been exceptional, as good as any time than during his entire career at Liverpool. So yeah, he's got problems, he has, but if you've got Szoboszlai back and of course Mo Salah back, you'll see a lot of smiles from Jurgen Klopp with this one, and he just needs to make sure that this game goes fairly well. I mean, they don't have to go and batter it and win it in the first game. They would love that if they possibly could, but as long as they take it back to Anfield and they've got the crowd behind them there, I would say a draw or a single goal win would be great for them.
You don't, I mean, if you give, what do you want to do? Give Salah 15-20 minutes?
It's a really interesting one because it is a hamstring, and they're so different from other injuries because you just don't know until you give it that 100% run, really sprint on it. So with Salah, it would be surprising if he started with them, but some players you want to get their legs going, but do you really think you're going to bring Mo Salah in and he's going to be too rusty? It just doesn't happen with certain types of players, and he's one of them. You bring him back in, he knows how to manage games even when he's not at 100%. So whatever he fancies, he'll give him.
So bizarrely, is it kind of better to start in the fact that you have a full warm up to put your hamstring through, rather than? I mean, I'm not saying players don't warm up properly, but surely a full warm up pre-match is better than up and down the touchline for 5 minutes before coming on.
Almost certainly, but don't ask a football player about that because they're rubbish at that sort of stuff, right? Because all we ever want to do is play. We just want to play, get us on the pitch. Mo Salah wants to score goals, doesn't he? He just wants to get on there. And if you feel you're fit, in that lovely moment where you think, actually, that's gone, nothing will make you stay on that bench, If the manager says to you, do you want to play, do you think you should play, the immediate answer almost always is yes. But it's up to Klopp and obviously the medical staff. They need to look at it closely because, the travelling, and people do overlook this too much, and we've done a bit of travelling this week. Actually, our team here have done a hell of a lot. I've done a bit, but at least mines were in time. George is here, Phil's here, and they were about 8 hours delayed, 10 hours delayed, so they've had a worse time than me. But it does, the players, yes, they get easier travels that they do with the flights that they take, but it does take it out of you. So that sort of thing has to be taken on board. But with Salah, I suppose you just try and find a way that's going to get him in the best shape for Sunday. And that's the biggest thing.
Pat, thank you very much. So commentary on Sparta Prague, Liverpool from 5:30 tomorrow. Rodri has been substituted at the Etihad, so he is off, but Erling Haaland is still on. Back to the three men who are just trying their best.
We are, and we'll continue to do that.
I thought he was going to say the three wise men there, John, but he couldn't say that.
He could have said that, but he chose not to. Second half just getting underway, so yes, Rodri is off, so no great surprise there. Stephen Warnock and Shay Given are the other two of the three wise men. And Ederson, that's a poor clearance, and it's played back over the top into the penalty area to Froholt, and that needed a last-ditch challenge there from Kovacic, which it got for Manchester City. Otherwise Froholt had a shot on goal.
Yeah, well, he made a mistake in the first game, Ederson, trying to play out from the back, and this time he tries to play through the heart of midfield, and it gets intercepted, and Froholt took too long to get his shot away. You have to be quick. Good challenge from Kovacic coming in to make sure that he couldn't get them another goal.
And interestingly, it looks as though Kovacic has actually taken up the Rodri position, and Gomez is playing on the left-hand side, having come on, a relatively rare appearance for Sergio Gomez, just his 12th appearance in all competitions this season, and as Mark Chapman said, still Erling Haaland. Surely it won't go on beyond the hour. You wouldn't have thought, would you?
I can't believe he's back out, if I'm being completely honest. I'm really surprised at that.
So Sergio Gomez playing on the left-hand side here in actually quite an advanced position, and Manchester City coming forward with Akanji. I'll run you through the team as it is in a moment or two, but here's Rico Lewis out to the right-hand side to Mateus Nunez, who will go back towards the halfway line. So the Manchester City team now with Ederson in goal, Lewis, Akanji, Diaz and Gvardiol, then Kovacic centrally as Bob tries to slip the ball forward through to Haaland, but that's cut out on the edge of the area. Froholt brings it forward for Copenhagen, then back to Ankersen, and Copenhagen with it halfway inside their own half. And we'll go back to Middlesbrough and Rob Law.
Middlesbrough 3, Norwich 1. Yet more misery for Norwich. A deep cross from Luke Ayling through to the far side. Lucas Engel hits it first time as it flies past Angus Gunn. Middlesbrough 3, Norwich 1.
Much needed equaliser for Watford. 1-1 against Swansea. Wesley Hoot has scored that. And back to the Women's League Cup semi-final, and Flo Pollock.
Full-time, Arsenal have beaten Aston Villa 4-0 to reach the League Cup final, where they will face either Chelsea or Manchester City. Arsenal did the job in the first half, really. Blackstenius scoring a hat-trick, Marnham with a peach. Aston Villa were poor on the night. Full-time, Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 0.
So 3-1 continues to be the score here in this second leg of this Champions League round of 16 tie. So Manchester City 6-2 up on aggregate. There wasn't much doubt about it coming into it, but very little after Manchester City scored 2 goals in the first 10 minutes tonight. And Manchester City now, as I say, with Sergio Gomez in an advanced position on the left, Nunez on the right, Alvarez and Bob in the middle, and Haaland up front. And the Copenhagen side, as it started the match, injury hit Copenhagen. Grabara in goal, bad mistake from him for the Alvarez second goal for Manchester City. The back five, the City have it in front of their own penalty area. Ankersen, Vavro, Dix, McKenna and Yellert. Then Froholt, Clem, El Yunusi and Achuri, with Oscarson their lone striker. 5 Live and BBC Sounds live here in Manchester, watching Oscarson, the tall, slender Icelandic centre forward, playing it towards the left hand side. Now here is McKenna, who turns it onto his left foot. He gets it back, passes it out to Yellert, who tries to take it on down the left hand side. Achuri just knocks it back into his own half. So 3-1, Manchester City lead early in the second half. If you weren't listening earlier, Manchester City making 7 changes tonight. So on the bench this evening for City, Kyle Walker, John Stones, Nathan Ake, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and the Premier League's man of the moment, Phil Foden, who I suspect we won't see tonight. Will we, Stephen?
What a bench. My word, that is incredible, isn't it? That's standard. But yeah, I don't think we'll see Phil Foden. Be very surprised if we did. What is the point in seeing him tonight? There's just no point in taking that gamble as Haaland goes through.
Kovacic playing it through to Haaland, who shoots on the turn. Defenders were back in there, comes back to Haaland, who swings a leg at it, manages to find Alvarez, and then Manchester City go back towards the halfway line. So Haaland, having scored that goal tonight, that means he is now level in the list of scorers in the European Cup and the Champions League. He's now level with none other than Sergio Aguero. They've both got 41 goals in this competition as the ball is blocked back towards the halfway line, and Diaz will just keep possession for Manchester City. The difference being that Haaland's got his 41 in 37 appearances in this competition. Aguero 41 in 79 appearances. Shay?
Not a bad record for either, I would imagine, John. But no, just looking at Man City and looking at Pep Guardiola, especially on the touchline. You know, when Copenhagen have the ball, he's making more demands of his City's players to close them down, to harass them, to chase them, to press them high up the pitch. Like, I mean, screaming at players, you know, to get into positions, and they stop them playing through the lines. And he's more calm actually when Man City are in possession. So it's interesting to see, because they're so far ahead. But he's screaming at them more without the ball than with it.
Probably because he knows that they're going to use less energy when they're on the ball.
True, yeah.
Making sure win it back as quick as you can, and then we don't have any issues.
Manchester City with the ball inside their own half. It is pretty much a capacity crowd inside the Etihad Stadium tonight, and an excellent attendance from Copenhagen supporters, who are still singing their hearts out over there on the far side, the supporters of the Lions as they're known. Here is Gvardiol back in action after a little spell out with injury. Oscar Bob now taking it on towards the left corner of the penalty area. Gomez is available here on the left hand side, comes back to Kovacic moving the ball from left to right. Copenhagen have got everyone apart from Oskarsson back behind the ball. City with it just outside the Danish penalty area. Now Gomez again. Bob wants it near the dead ball line, but Vavro is able to come across and take possession of the ball for Copenhagen, and then pass it up the line. That's touched back by Oskarsson towards Froholt, who has Gvardiol all over him, and Manchester City all over Copenhagen. And Alvarez now, in comes the challenge on him from William Clem, and it's actually bounced away for Achuri now to cross the halfway line for Copenhagen. Oskarsson through the middle, but sky blue shirts back in numbers very quickly, and even though Achuri's still in possession, he has to play it back towards the halfway line, and Copenhagen have to take the patient approach on the halfway line.
Yeah, he's quick, Achuri, but then exactly what Shay's just said, recovery runs, making sure that they get back into position to make it difficult for Copenhagen to cause them any problems, and that's the shape and the work rate that Pep Guardiola will be delighted with.
Manchester City nibbling the ball back on the halfway line, but that's over. And Kovacic was claiming he was fouled, and the Norwegian referee Espen Eskås agrees with that, and it is a free kick for Manchester City. So in the Championship, the latest scores in the 4 matches that remain tonight after the Southampton postponement: Cardiff City 1-0 up on Huddersfield, Middlesbrough 3, Norwich 1, Watford 1, Swansea 1, QPR 1, West Brom 2. All latest scores in the Championship. 5 Live final score night tonight, so you can continue listening to our commentary from the Champions League alongside the final score graphics and the video printer and whatnot on the Red Britain iPlayer BBC Sport app if you look for 5 Live final score. And what's happening in Real Madrid, RB Leipzig, John Akers?
Well, Leipzig continue to be the better team. It's Real Madrid 0, Leipzig 0. Madrid 1-0 up on aggregate. Rodrigo on at half-time for Real Madrid. And Openda's missed another good sighter. He went round the goalkeeper, could have taken it with his left on the angle, chopped onto his right and was challenged. They continue to be wasteful. Real Madrid 0, Leipzig 0.
So that isn't the balance, Stephen. That would put the cat among the pigeons, wouldn't it?
Oh, it certainly would, wouldn't it? I mean, they've had a lot of injuries this season, Real Madrid, and haven't really been challenged too much yet. Well, so far, but the game when we were out in Copenhagen, I remember updates coming in on that game, and Leipzig had what should have been potentially a goal. Am I right in saying that? And it was ruled out for an offside but they certainly had chances against Real Madrid, and it sounds like they're doing well tonight.
Free kick to Manchester City on the right-hand side, but back to QPR, Henry Moran.
Penalty to be taken by Fry, saved by the goalkeeper of West Brom, and QPR missed the opportunity to go level. Penalty given for handball, and unfortunately for QPR, they've not been able to take advantage. It remains QPR 1, West Brom 2.
Free kick for Manchester City on the right flank, so packed penalty area. Erling Haaland in the middle seems to be absolutely cowering over everyone else. He probably is. Here it is in from Alvarez. That's headed away for Copenhagen to the edge of the area. Gomez with a shot on the edge of the area, but that's charged down almost at source. And then Alvarez plays it back for Mateus Nunes, the tall Portuguese international. Quick feet into the penalty area. Lovely change of feet actually as well. And then to the right hand side, here's the cross from Alvarez. Haaland lurking at the back post. It's actually bounced over him to the bearded Gvardiol. First time ball into the penalty area by Gomez. And then Vavro, I thought that had actually bounced over the line for a corner, but he managed to clear it away just in time for a throw in, says the referee. Yeah, City suggesting that maybe it was a corner.
Well, I think what helped was the assistant referee was on the far side, so probably couldn't quite see with his body angle the way he was that it gone out for a corner, but it looked very, very obvious from where we were.
So Manchester City take the throw quickly and have got that ball moving again. 3-1 on the night. Haaland then headed forward by Alvarez. Haaland, as he invariably does, swings his foot up high, controls it instantly. Froholt, the youngster, bounces off him, and City have it with Lewis over there on the far side, which comes back in field to Kovacic. Various of the Manchester City substitutes. We might see the youngsters. Sissoko is on the bench tonight. Jacob Wright, Micah Hamilton as well, who scored in the Champions League in that match in Belgrade on his debut just before Christmas. So we might see them, but it's actually going to be a Copenhagen double change that we're going to see next, with Manchester City on the ball inside their own half. Champions League commentary tonight. We heard from Pat Nevin at half-time, who is now in Prague. He's gone from Munich last night to Prague now, Pat. He's going to be at Anfield with us as part of our team on Sunday. What a week he's having. And you'll hear that. It's an early start tomorrow for the Sparta Prague-Liverpool game. So commentary on 5 Live, 5:45 kickoff. So it'll be an early finish. Conor McNamara will be in Prague alongside Pat for that. Balls deflected out of play by Yellert on the far side. And here we will see these two Copenhagen changes. So off comes the number 30, Achuri, the Tunisian international, with and I'm pleased to say that we're going to see Rooney Bardghji coming on, who the 18-year-old who scored the thrilling winner against Manchester United in Copenhagen in the group when he was just 17 years old. Rooney Bardghji, the number 40, and also Magnus Madsson, one of the January arrivals. Actually, it was February by the time the deal went through. Scored in the first leg. He is going to come on into the midfield, the number 8, with one of the teenagers, Froholt, coming off. So Madsson on and a chance to see him again, and he speeds off over there to the far side where Manchester City have this throw, which they take back towards the halfway line. Just over half an hour to play. Manchester City cruising through, as everyone assembled here tonight suspected would be the case. Bob, who has been bright when he's been on the ball, playing in this central area. Bob takes it on, still going. Gomez, low ball right across the edge of the 6-yard box, but controlled by Yellert for Copenhagen, who passes it out to Madsson. And then Madsson infield to El Yunusi, forward to Oskarsson, and then Madsson again, still inside their own half, but there it goes across the halfway line. El Yunusi playing in this central role, then to the right back, Ankersen, and the ball is taken over here towards the right hand side by Rooney Bardghji, who is said to be interesting Premier League clubs, not least Manchester United. Quite the backstory, if you haven't heard it. Born in Kuwait to a Syrian family. His dad is a Manchester United fan, and the word is that it is just a coincidence that his first name is Rooney and his brother's name is Ryan, but that's just a coincidence apparently. So he really caught the eye in that Manchester United group match, so let's see how he fares up front for Copenhagen.
Yeah, a lot of talk about him. I think he's almost got that, he likened to Shaqiri type, that barrel body, little small, low centre of gravity. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares tonight.
Barrel body?
Barrelled body.
What does that mean?
Sort of Rooney build.
Yeah.
Okay. Well built.
You could
solid.
say that. Stocky.
Yeah.
Manchester City 3-1 up on the night. Back to QPR. Sounds like you've got a game on your hands, Henry.
Yeah, QPR 1, West Brom 2. We've seen one penalty saved by the West Brom goalkeeper this half. Should we have seen another penalty, Sam Parkin?
It's incredible. Kipre's handled one off the line in behind Alex Palmer. It's a wonderful header from Sam Field, and QPR have started so well, and so unfortunate there that neither the assistant on the far side or the referee has seen a clear handball from the West Brom centre half.
Yeah, Cedric Kipre tipping the ball over the bar. No VAR, nothing doing for QPR. They're trailing by 2-1.
Thank you to Henry Moran and Sam Parkin. We're watching Manchester City with the ball inside the Copenhagen half, and Kovacic playing it through towards Lewis, who goes back to Diaz in the centre circle with that heavy strapping still around his left hand, and then back to Gomez, who goes the full 360 degrees and a little bit more as well, and then a low ball through the middle to Alvarez, and then again from Bob back to Diaz, who passes it through the middle. Comes back to Sergio Gomez, but just short passes now for Manchester City in the middle of the Copenhagen half, and Gomez actually finds a bit of space against Bardghji and uses Diaz again, who goes out towards Akanji on the right hand side. Pass from him to Mateus Nunes. Still got plenty to prove, Mateus Nunes in a Manchester City shirt, Stephen.
Yeah, so often we see players come in and just try and understand what Pep's asking them to do. We saw it with Jack Grealish when he first come in, and it's possibly the same for Nunes. I think he's more of a squad player. I think he's bought in for numbers. He's certainly a quality player. I really like him. I like watching him.
Manchester City have actually gone all the way back to goalkeeper Ederson, who in the classic Ederson way very languidly just passes the ball out of the 6-yard box. City still got it inside their own penalty area, and it's passed right across the box to Gvardiol in the left back position, who has given it away to Vavro, who plays the ball right across the penalty area, but a diving Oskarsson feet first, can't get a touch, and it's through for a goal kick. Shay.
I mean, what you would say from Copenhagen, I know they need goals, but the press and the fitness levels is unbelievable, and Pep Guardiola is standing, arms folded, legs crossed. He's raging with, I think, Guardiola on that occasion for giving the ball away. But what you would say, that, you know, the fitness level is through the roof. I mean, they have to be that level to play Man City, of course you do, but there is a risk involved. The only thing I would say as well, John, at 62 minutes gone, the big man up front, Erling Haaland, is still on the pitch. You know, I don't know if that's his decision or Pep Guardiola's decision, but I'm quite surprised at that. You know, they need 4 goals. They're not going to score 4 goals. Copenhagen, no chance.
Yeah, it is, and there's no immediate sign of there being a change, and we are now, as Shay says, into the last half hour of this tie.
Even Diaz, John, on a yellow card, why take that gamble? I mean, it's a strange one. Shay, did you have an update on Diaz's hand? We were trying to get an update on that.
No, I was scrambling away, you know, in the background. You know, Mark Chapman thinks we're sitting here doing nothing. We're exasperating all our contacts at Man City, but no, I've got no reply from anyone.
Yes, it's like the proverbial duck, isn't it? Now, there has been an opening goal of the second leg in the Madrid-Leipzig tie. John Akers.
And against the run of play, Real have the lead. Bellingham with one of those surges through the middle of the pitch. Beautiful weight on the pass to Vinicius Jr. around the penalty spot, and right-footed, he slots it home. The only real moment of quality from Real in the game, and they lead an aggregate 2-0, 1-0 on the night against Leipzig.
So it now looks very much as though it'll be Real Madrid and Manchester City going through to the quarter-final draw, and indeed the draw for the semi-finals, which is a week on Friday, where... Sorry, Shay.
Sorry, I was just going to say, John, that John Stones is coming on, which is quite remarkable as well. I think, you know, obviously John's had his injury issues over the last few seasons. He's coming on maybe relatively cold in the 63rd minute to You know, again, I just don't understand it. I'm not having to go Pep Guardiola because he's a mastermind of his own work, but at the same time, why risk someone of his importance, you know, with the game on Sunday that's pivotal to the Premier League campaign?
Yeah, well, he is. He's coming on, Stephen.
Bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And this is my only downside with Guardiola is you've got 3 youngsters on the bench. A perfect opportunity to give them game time, to see how they fare in a game like this. The thing is, you can afford to lose maybe 1 or 2 goals in the game. If youngsters come on and they do make mistakes, that's absolutely fine, that's going to happen. But where'd you test them? How'd you test them? And I'd be bitterly disappointed if I was on the bench and not getting an opportunity. I mean, they might get one later on, but why bring a senior player on?
Yeah, it'll be raising the eyebrows of Manchester City fans as well around the ground, who very much got their eyes set on that match on Sunday, which you'll be able to hear with us on 5 Live. Here is Alvarez playing it out towards the halfway line. But of course, the other side of that is, who are we to question the great man?
Absolutely.
I mean, I apologise maybe for talking about Sunday so much, but because it's such a big game, you know, for me, winner takes all on Sunday, and you wouldn't risk really anyone at 6-2 up on aggregate in the Champions League, you know, 4 days before such a massive game.
Yeah, it is. It's quite the month, isn't it, that Manchester City are facing after the derby last Sunday, and then the game at Liverpool, Newcastle in the FA Cup, Arsenal, Aston Villa as well, the 2 Premier League matches after that. And Manchester City attacking into the Copenhagen penalty area, but across comes the challenge to put it out of play for Copenhagen. Actually, it's kept in on the far side. Lewis, though, is dispossessed. John Stones still waiting to come on field, but Copenhagen in this black away kit with the red trim bring it forward with Vavro, and then up centrally into the middle of the field for Bardghji, who gives it out to the left-hand side. Then here is Bardghji, little pass forward from him towards the edge of the penalty area. El Yunusi, Bardghji is onto this, trying to weave his way through. Left foot shot, saved by goalkeeper Ederson. Left foot effort from Maatsen, the substitute, from 10-12 yards out, and Ederson parries it away well. Copenhagen come again towards the edge of the Manchester City penalty area. Very nearly a second for them.
Well, there's Bardghji at his best, in little small pockets of space, and little 1-2, tried to play some Maatsen through. Maatsen gets his shot away. Credit to Ederson, big strong hand to push it away.
That's actually the best chance of the second half so far.
It is, yeah.
I mean, it's a good save, John, but I think, you know, Maatsen again had that again, you know, had to put it in one of the corners. You know, it asks a few more questions marks around the Etihad, of course it does, but it's a good save from Ederson. But again, Man City just seem a wee bit flat now in the last 5 or 10 minutes. They just obviously think the job's done and took the foot off the pedal a little bit.
More news on Madrid, Leipzig, John Akers.
Equaliser for Leipzig. Real Madrid 1, Leipzig 1. Real Madrid leading 2-1 on the night. It's a really brave header in the 6-yard box from Orban, the captain, stooping, got a good header on it, sent the goalkeeper the wrong way with it, and it's an equaliser and game on here at the Bernabeu. Real Madrid 1, Leipzig 1.
Not over yet.
You said it was over.
I thought you said it was over.
To you, to me.
Okay, the change is going to see, well, there we are, Diaz, the captain tonight, on the yellow card. He is being withdrawn, so that's a relief for Manchester City, that he's okay, it would appear, and he will not be receiving a yellow card tonight. So John Stones coming on to replace him, and Copenhagen making changes as well. So they are taking off Ori Oskarsson and bringing on Andreas Cornelius, the former Cardiff City man, the Danish international, the number 14, 30 years old now. On he trots, and John Stones has taken the captain's armband as well, and young Clem has come off from the Danish midfield, and Oscar Højlund is on, brother of Rasmus, who put in that challenge in the first leg.
Well, what you would say, good time to take Cornelius off the bench. They've got a corner here, Copenhagen, and what a first touch this would be if you get on the end of this.
Wouldn't it just? Corner, which is taken by Maatsen, a deep one over everyone inside the penalty area, and Oscar Højlund is on for his first touch of the match. Vividly blonde haired, even much more blonde than his brother who plays on the other side of the city, Oscar Højlund. And then long raking pass, Vavro heads it back on the edge of the penalty area. Copenhagen take up possession again. Rooney, Bardghji, so they've got two of their exciting youngsters on the field, two of their many exciting youngsters. Bardghji and Oscar Højlund, the twin brother Emil, is not involved, by the way, tonight in the Copenhagen squad. They must have been a handful, mustn't they, those Højlund youngsters, when they... I do feel for the Højlund parents must have had their hands full with those three.
Imagine playing against their local team.
Yeah.
I mean, what a team that would have been. Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Here's Magnus Madsen, playing it square. El Yunusi is going to take it on towards the edge of the penalty area. Right-footed ball into the box, had to be cleared. It was cleared by Akanji on the edge of the 6-yard area. They are posing problems again, Copenhagen. And then a ball played in from deep by Ankersen goes all the way through for a goal kick. Just to reassure Mark Chapman, by the way, who's listening from afar, when I say they're threatening, they are threatening. They're not threatening to overturn the tie, Shay, be fair to say.
No, not threatening, but we are trying to keep a balanced view on the thing and trying to keep the listeners enthralled at home. Of course,
we're enjoying their enterprising football when they come forward, which is what they're doing at the moment.
Yeah, there's not many teams that will stop Manchester City from playing, but what you've got to do is be able to, when you get the ball, is try and cause them problems. And what I will say is that when they've gone forward, they've had ideas, and more ideas than most teams have had against Manchester City before. So they do cause a threat when they go forward. It's very limited when they get the ball.
Manchester City 3, Copenhagen 1. For Copenhagen, this is their 14th match in this competition, given the qualifying rounds, the playoff round, the group matches, last 16. Manchester City last season, when they won it, they played only 13 matches in the competition and are the champions, looking to win it and defend it successfully. And they'd be the first English club to do that since Nottingham Forest way back in the 80s.
It looks, John, like Mika Hamilton's coming on, and I'll be shocked if Erling Haaland doesn't get dragged off here now, to be honest. Young striker coming off from Man City here.
Yes, the number 92, Mika Hamilton, is just now walking into the coaching area, and next time the ball goes out of play, Matheus Nunes has actually gone down on the far side, so the referee has stopped play.
And Pep's told him to wait as well. So
is that his finger? Is he dislocated his finger there? He went in on his hand, and that looked sore.
What has he done?
Dislocation or a break.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Tell you what, good eyesight from you there, Stephen
That's
Warnock.
Why I've got my glasses on.
I borrow them, by the way. But Pep's just told young Hamilton to just wait a minute and see how this injury, how bad this is. Yeah. If they change it again.
So I wonder if they're having to, they're hunched over him, the two medical people. So while we've got a stoppage here, let me tell you, in the Championship, latest scores, Cardiff City still 1-0 up on Huddersfield, Middlesbrough 3-1 up on Norwich, who could have gone into the top 6 tonight, Norwich City. Watford 1, Swansea 1, QPR 1, West Brom 2 remains the score there. And what's the latest out in an Indian Wells on the Jack Draper match? Russell Fuller's there.
He's out in the very first round, despite winning the first set 6-1 against Christopher O'Connell. But the Australian played brilliantly after that, won the decider by 6-2, winning the last 6 games of the match. Draper looked like he was struggling physically once again. That could well be as a result of the food poisoning which affected his week in Acapulco and his preparations for this tournament, John.
Thank you, Russell. Manchester City 3-1 up here, 5 Live, BBC Sounds. That's 6-2 on aggregate. Nunez is still receiving treatment, but I think Hamilton is going to come on. They are going to make that change, and that is it for Matheus Nunes. So it's not Haaland.
It does surprise me if it's a dislocated finger or whatever. I mean, I've done it myself, and obviously being a goalkeeper, I put it back in on the pitch and I got the physio to strap it up and I played on. As an outfield player, I'd be very shocked if he's coming off with a dislocated finger, Stephen Warnock.
It looked a break. It looked horrendous. When it first zoomed in on it, I thought, my word, that looks horrible.
Oh yeah, we're seeing it now. They're putting it on the screens in front of us, and they've taped up. It's his left hand, and they've taped up the first 3 fingers.
But what I'm saying is, you can still run as an outfield player. You can still pass the ball. You can still head it. He doesn't need to use his hands, obviously. Or am I just being grumpy?
Yeah, absolutely.
How many times did you dislocate fingers?
Oh, if you looked at my fingers, I know people are listening, they can't really see, but there's a lot of
look at that.
There's a few fingers going in the wrong direction, should we say, John? So,
well, I've seen Rob Green's hands.
Yeah,
who has
part and parcel of the job. Isn't it?
Well, that's it. And even though it is a hand injury, Shay, Mateus Nunes is limping down the touchline.
Well, again, no. I mean, it's just surprising. I mean, if it's a break or if it's something wrong with his wrist or something, he's taped up his fingers, so it looks like something wrong with his fingers. But again, it looked for all that Haaland was coming off, and again, obviously, just in the second he was about to come off, I feel that Nunes has gone down injured, and Pep's had to change it, and the big man's still on the pitch.
Yeah, and Micah Hamilton is on the field for only his third competitive appearance for the Manchester City first team, and he's taken up a position sort of withdrawn on the left-hand side of the Manchester City front line. So Sergio Gomez has gone more central. So it is 3-1, and Ankersen for Copenhagen to Cornelius, who heads it on to Bardghji, and Rooney Bardghji, he's full of flicks and tricks. This young man gets it back from Oscar Højlund, and then it is again back to Oscar Højlund. I wonder if his brother's here tonight. Ankersen with a cross in from the right hand side, but it's over everyone and actually arrives at the feet of Yellert on the left flank. Now back to El Yunusi, and El Yunusi, Oscar Højlund then gives it back to El Yunusi, who's up to the edge of the penalty area. Then the low cross from the left hand side is intercepted by Akanji, and it's a Copenhagen corner.
Good defending from Akanji, making sure that ball can't get fizzed across the 6-yard box for a tap in. Well, that's nice football again. Oscar Højlund dominating possession, making sure that he's finding passes, trying to split that midfield of Manchester City.
Corner for Copenhagen. This is at the end where all of their supporters with the flags and the banners, who are still singing their hearts out in the three tiers, looking down on this left-sided corner, which is overhit, or is it? No, it's headed back across by El Yunusi, deflected goalwards, but Ederson is able to quickly come out and grab the bouncing ball.
Oh, what a shame as it came back in. It was Scott McKenna who tried to flick it on, and Dix was just hit him in the chest. He didn't know anything about it, couldn't really try and divert it goalwards, and that was a good opportunity.
Mateus Nunes has now finally made it round the pitch behind the goal to our left, and has arrived down in front of the dugouts with his fingers taped, and is going to take his seat in behind.
I mean, he's done the long walk from the far side of the pitch, John, all around the back goal. He's not clapped the fans once. I mean, what do you think, Stephen? I think he clapped them with one hand. Is that a possibility?
How ungrateful.
I know.
John Stones now got the captain's armband tonight, and here is Micah Hamilton, who plays it in field towards Gvardiol. Into the last 15 minutes we go, and Oscar Højlund is doing well actually to keep possession in the central area against Sergio Gomez. You would have thought, wouldn't you, that his brother would want to come and watch him play tonight?
I think if he was, he'd probably be in full disguise.
Yes, I think so.
You know, stash, some glasses, wig on probably.
Yeah,
around these parts.
Here's Cornelius giving the ball back to the edge of the area. Yellert with a shot which is deflected wide of the goal by 3 or 4 yards. And it is another corner to Copenhagen.
They've just changed the shape, Copenhagen. They've gone with a 4, and Dix has stepped into midfield just to try and get an overload to try and help them get out. And 2 or 3 times now they found themselves in forward areas, and good opportunity, well blocked by John Stones, and another corner.
And we're going to see another Copenhagen change, straight swap this one, and it's another Norwegian onto the field. Birger Meling, international teammate of Oscar Bob and Erling Haaland, who is still out there incidentally, even though we are into the last 15 minutes. Looks as though he might be there for the whole thing. In comes the corner. Ederson has dropped it as he looked as though he was meaning to catch it, but it was pushed away across the box, and now it's shipped across the penalty area, headed out to the edge of the box. Rooney Bardghji misses his kick, and then El Yunusi swings at it and hits it over the crossbar by a couple of yards.
Good opportunity for El Yunusi. Oh, he's got to try and keep it down, but as he comes to him, he's leaning back over almost over his right shoulder. and wanting to punch the ball with his laces, fires it over the bar, but a ropey moment from Ederson, dropped the cross as it came in.
In the other match, Real Madrid 1, Leipzig 1 remains the score, so that is 2-1 to Real Madrid on aggregate, so that is in the balance. Final whistles going in the 7:45 kickoffs. Have Cardiff made it 3 wins in a row, Laura Kenyon?
They have. It's Cardiff 1, Huddersfield 0. Huddersfield unable to claw any distance from bottom 3, separated by goal difference alone. An even game, but Famara Jeju providing the clinical edge for Cardiff, who could launch a late charge for the playoffs. Cardiff 1, Huddersfield 0.
And I suspect Norwich's recent unbeaten run is over at Middlesbrough, Rob Law.
It is indeed. Middlesbrough 3, Norwich 1. A huge dent to the Canaries as their chance to climb into the playoff places passes them by in frustrating fashion. They remain a point in the place outside the top 6. Ashley Barnes put David Wagner's side in the lead early on, but the game changed on a red card for Boyan Sainz. 2 goals from Marcus Forss and Emmanuel Latte last, a third from Lucas Engel, so Michael Carrick's side turn it around. Norwich will feel hard done by after that. They were the better side until the sending off. Middlesbrough 3, Norwich 1.
Still playing Watford 1, Swansea 1 and QPR 1, West Brom 2. Incidentally, it finished Sporting 1, Atalanta 1 in the earlier match in the Europa League, with Benfica playing tomorrow night against Rangers. Some excellent ties tomorrow night.
Well, there is.
We'll obviously have commentary on the Sparta Prague Liverpool match, one of the early kickoffs, but a whole range of really attractive ties, many of them involving the British clubs. Certainly Benfica Rangers, I think, is a fascinating one. But Manchester City halfway inside their own half, bringing the ball forward towards the halfway line. It is as it was at half time. We've had no further addition to the score in the second half, and still Manchester City may well make it 8 matches in the Champions League this season in which they've won them all and scored 3 goals in them all. Ball played over the top for the run of Bob, but he won't reach that, and it is through for a goal kick. That's quite a thing, isn't it, to score 3 goals in every match?
It is. What the odds on that would have been.
I wonder what they were.
I was just having a look on my phone, John, the Sporting game, to see if Gyökeres had scored again, but he didn't. He was on the bench tonight.
Here's Cornelius near the edge of the area. Maatsen, low ball into the box. El Yunusi is being shepherded by Akanji, who shepherded him very well, and Ederson was able to pick it up. And again, the Copenhagen fans are absolutely excelling themselves. They've been brilliant tonight. They're the ones who've brought the atmosphere to this match this evening. They've been singing their hearts out all evening. I suspect they've been all over the centre of Manchester, might even have been in that northern quarter, Stephen, during the course of the day. But they're in there, they're in great spirits, they're bouncing up and down, they're clapping their hands above their heads in the Nordic style. And Manchester City are playing the ball out of the penalty area with Ederson, who passes it to Gvardiol. He chips it up the line towards Hamilton, but over his head. And Copenhagen, you can tell their immediate aim here is to get another goal here tonight.
John, you said that like I know the northern quarter well then. I'm sat next to a guy who lives in Manchester, who probably spends
I should have addressed that to
more
Shay,
time.
Yeah, my going outs in the northern quarter days are over, I think.
Are they? Are you sure?
Party's over, lad. The party is over.
I think that might be for the airwaves only, that point of view. Manchester City content to let Copenhagen have possession inside their own half. Still 1-1 between Real Madrid and Leipzig. So Leipzig need a goal to take that to extra time. Oscar Højlund going to the masked goalkeeper Grabara. That was the story really of the first 10 minutes when Manchester City too easily were able to score the opening 2 goals. However, El Yunusi through to Cornelius, and Cornelius works it on to Maatsen, and Maatsen's now in the box on the left hand side and shoots right-footed. The defender's back in there, one of them with a block, bounces across the box, and then there's a foul on Akanji and a free kick, and I think that might be a yellow card for Cornelius. It is, for his what is over exuberant challenge on.
I think,
Akanji.
John, sorry, you hit the nail on the head. The first 10 minutes, Copenhagen, we all say in any game get off to a good start, especially away from home. We're in the tie if you get the first goal, blah blah blah. But 2 set plays, obviously a goalkeeping error for the second goal, but it's just such a poor start. But apart from that, Copenhagen, I know goals change games, but apart from that, they've been really in the game. They've been really positive, and the frustrating thing for them, I suppose, and their young manager, who as you rightly said, looks very exciting, front-footed manager, commits bodies forward, is the goals that they give away. It'd be so frustrating looking back at the game tomorrow.
It's a little bit harsh that for Cornelius, the yellow card. I mean, it was the classic high foot, wasn't it, on Akanji, who's okay, by the way. Akanji is back on his feet. We're going to see Jacob Wright coming on as well for Manchester City, so this will be a Champions League debut for the 18-year-old Mancunian, with Manchester City 3-1 up and 6 minutes to play. It has finished Watford 1, Swansea 1, so that is 1 win in 11 now for Watford in all competitions. And Manchester City with Sergio Gomez back to Gvardiol, who goes back to the now captain John Stones. 5 Live Football Daily from BBC Sounds. We'll have all of their action. This morning's had our interview with Harry Kane, our man Rob Schofield, talking to Harry Kane last night in Munich after his 2 goals. So BBC Sounds, all BBC Radio is there. And at QPR, Henry Moran, what's happened?
QPR have their equaliser. QPR 2, West Brom 2, and my do they deserve it. Sam Field with a second of the night. Sam Parkin, they've played so well.
Played really well tonight. Yeah, the missed penalty, didn't they? They had the disallowed goal, they had the handball incident. That is richly deserved, and Sam Field's turned into Frank Lampard tonight, hasn't he? No goals this season, got himself a brace against his old side.
Yeah, QPR 2, West Brom 2 into the final 10.
Manchester City with the ball near the halfway line. Jacob Wright still waiting to come onto the field, the number 56.
John, I know you like to look at players' boots when they come on. He looks like he's got socks on, just a continuation of the blue socks, and then goes to the white. They don't look like a proper boot, do they?
No, they don't. They do. They look very slender, don't they? Here's Kovacic carrying the ball towards the edge of the penalty area, square from him to Alvarez, tried to chip it into the penalty area. Haaland still on the field, but that was cut out on the edge of the box. It's won back though by Sergio Gomez, who's been industrious, hasn't he, since he's come onto the field at half time. And now Lewis in the central area. Sergio Gomez, his pass to Hamilton. Now Alvarez just outside the box, but being forced wide out towards the left hand side down here, looking down to our left as Kovacic and Sergio Gomez exchange passes on the halfway line. So yes, 5 Live Sport on air till 10:30 tonight, so we'll chew it all over. We'll have some reaction, I would have thought, as well, from the championship matches tonight, still playing at QPR, where it is 2-2, as we heard from Henry and Sam Parkin. Sergio Gomez now rolling a pass out towards the far side. That's where Oscar Bob is. City go back towards Gvardiol on the halfway line, and now Stones just knocking it forward, a short pass to Sergio Gomez. So this will extend this Manchester City unbeaten run to 20 matches in all competitions as they go to Anfield on Sunday. 5 Live, the place to listen to. Liverpool against Manchester City, 3:45 Sunday afternoon, and 1 o'clock for Aston Villa against Tottenham. Premier League commentary on Saturday as well. Got commentary on the Arsenal match and Liverpool Manchester City this weekend. Kovacic through the middle to Haaland, slightly overhit pass to Hamilton, but the ball runs away out of play off Hamilton for a throw-in to Copenhagen. And we have 3 minutes to go, Stephen.
I didn't think he was going to get on. Jacob Wright, Manchester City just keeping the ball, so he was going to get 6 minutes, but now that's been cut down because of the keep ball that they played.
And that's it, Shay. You've finally got Haaland coming off the field.
What do I know, John? For 3 minutes, he's coming off 3 minutes before the end of the game. You may as well stay on the pitch now at this stage, as far as I'm concerned.
You've been calling for him to come off all night. Now you're calling for him to stay on.
Make your mind up. No, I mean, it's just the risk. I wouldn't want to lose him for Sunday. Such a huge game. Obviously, thankfully from everyone from the blue half of Manchester, he looks fit and raring to go again on Sunday. But you know, I don't think tiredness will come in because he's still a very young man, of course.
Yeah, someone down in front of us, I noticed, who's just behind the dugouts there, filming Erling Haaland as he leaves the field, having scored his 29th goal of the season for Manchester City, his 41st in the Champions League. So he's shoulder to shoulder with Sergio Aguero in that list of Champions League, European Cup goal scorers, and indeed going into Anfield now for Erling Haaland. That is 7 goals in his last 3 appearances, but it hasn't been a night full of chances for him.
No, it hasn't. He's got that opportunity, and he's fed on scraps really all night. It's just been one of those games where it's been almost like a training exercise. Keep the ball in the midfield. If there's a real obvious opportunity to play it through, then they do that, but they just haven't been able to find him.
Copenhagen win it back. Ankersen goes for goal from the angle, but that just bounces away across Ederson's dive and beyond the far post. I thought he was very honest. He was inevitably going to be asked yesterday when he was put up to speak to the media about his future, and obviously Real Madrid, I know, spoke last month to some of our colleagues in Spain who are absolutely adamant that Haaland will end up there at some stage.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Mbappe's the big news at the minute as well. He'll be leaving Paris in the summer in a couple of months' time, and he'll likely end up at Real Madrid. We all think that as well. So I don't know. I'd like to see Erling, stay here for a long time, but you don't know. He strikes me as a man that he's got a sort of a journey mapped out in his own brain. Maybe do a few years in the Premier League, do a few years in the Liga perhaps, but it's not always works out as straightforward as that, John. But he's good enough to play at any club, that's for sure.
On the subject of Real Madrid, John Akers.
Leipzig have just hit the bar. Real are going through as it stands. It's 1-1 on the night, 2-1 on aggregate, but Olmo chested it down, a little lob on the volley with his instep, pinged off the top of the crossbar. 2 minutes to go, and Leipzig are giving it a right go to try and force this one into extra time. Real Madrid 1, Leipzig 1, 2-1 on aggregate.
Right in the balance. Magnus Madsson, the substitute, has been yellow carded actually for a little foul in the Manchester City half, and we are now into added time. 3 minutes of added time at the end of this tie, as Hamilton breaks forward for Manchester City up to the edge of the penalty area, into the box, tried to square it, took a couple of deflections, and it is cleared away by Oscar Højlund on the edge of his own 6-yard area, then headed further away, forced into the penalty area by Gvardiol, but cleared away by Kevin Dix, and then Ankersen did his best to win a free kick, which he did get.
Oh yeah, he bought that as well Hamilton. As he could, just fell to the floor, but as Hamilton goes through there, he just didn't look comfortable at all. He never really looked to shift the ball or swivel up the hips to try and throw a player off balance a little bit to try and get the shot in. It's a little bit of hit and hope.
I think probably in Hamilton's defence, he's probably thought of the scoreline. There's 4 Manchester City bodies in the box he could have passed to, but he thought, let me try and get a goal myself. It's a free hit really, and if he does get a goal, it's a fantastic thing for his career, of course.
So it is 3-1 to Manchester City, 6-2 on aggregate, just for the record. As I say, this will be 20 matches unbeaten in all competitions as they go to Anfield. Here at the Etihad, it's now 37 home matches unbeaten, and they've now scored in their last 56 home matches in all competitions. Through it goes towards the edge of the penalty area, bounces down, and Bob onto the crossbar with the shot from the edge of the area. And
I think it's Rico Lewis.
It's Lewis, and he hangs his head there on the edge of the penalty area after seeing it ping back off the top of the bar, the right foot shot.
Yeah, I think it was Dix who gets the block in, and as it comes in, the strike from Rico Lewis, when he strikes it, Dix throws his body into it, and it ricochets off his thigh onto the crossbar. Grabara was beaten all ends up. It was a really good opportunity for him, but great block from Dix.
And that is, in terms of what City have created in the second half, that is almost it. And actually it's Copenhagen who come forward with El Yunusi, who shoots from 23-24 yards, but that flies away over the top of the crossbar. So in added time here, is it over? Madrid-Leipzig, John Akers?
Real Madrid are through, John. Real Madrid 1, RB Leipzig 1, 2-1 on aggregate. Vinicius Junior, his 27th goal involvement in the last 27 games with the crucial goal for Madrid. He put them ahead. 3 minutes later, Orban with the equaliser. Leipzig wasteful. Madrid go through 2-1 on aggregate.
So there we are. Real Madrid are into that draw a week on Friday, along with Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester City. There are no shocks there and no shocks here tonight. Manchester City, as the final whistle goes, on they go into the quarter-finals for a 7th season in a row. The Holders cruising through against the Danish champions. 3-1 in both legs, 6-2 on aggregate. Stephen Warnock.
Yeah, really comfortable night for Manchester City. They won at a canter, never really put under too much pressure. The game was never in jeopardy because of the first leg, and a comfortable lead going into the game. But it just seemed like a training game for Manchester City. They played it out nicely. Nice passages of play every now and again from Copenhagen. They were dangerous going forward, but at the back, far too many mistakes, and very comfortable night for Manchester City.
Shay Given?
Yeah, I think it was cruise control, wasn't it? You know, you mentioned already, John, not so long ago, about the early start, the 2 goals that Copenhagen conceded, and after that it was job done, really, wasn't it? There was no pressure, and even the fans was the realisation, right, we're through to the quarter-final, so who are we going to get next? But at the same time, the mindset of these players, the Man City players, they had to keep going. Of course, Pep Guardiola made a few changes second half, but it was as comfortable as it's going to be probably at this stage of the Champions League for any team, and the job was done, I suppose, in the first leg as much as it was tonight.
Well, it's been a tremendous run in this competition for FC Copenhagen, the Danish champions. It has been incredibly eventful. They effectively helped to knock out Manchester United in the group stage, and they're going across to their supporters to say thank you for their support here in Manchester. But for Manchester City, goals from Akanji, Alvarez and Haaland after El Yunusi in the first half made it 2-1 at the time. But as they go to Anfield, Manchester City have equalled the Liverpool record tonight, record for English clubs in this competition, the European Cup Champions League, of 30 home matches unbeaten. So there we are. This is out of the way. They can park the quarter-finals of the Champions League as they look to this testing run of matches that lie ahead domestically, starting at Anfield on Sunday. But tonight, 3-1 winners against Copenhagen.
And you said it, Shay, didn't you? Cruise control, really, right from the very start.
Yeah, I think, Mark, especially the goals that they conceded, you know, it was 2 set plays, really. Obviously a goalkeeping mistake for the second one, but it came from a corner. And again, not just the whole pressure was off after that. Yeah, they had an uphill battle, I think, before the game tonight, Copenhagen, but to concede 2 goals, like that would be really disappointing from their point of view, and they're overclapping their fans as we sort of sit here and watch them, and their fans tonight were absolutely amazing, as they were a few weeks back, and of course in their home stadium. So Man City roll on to the quarter-final, see who they get up next. But again, you know, Real Madrid, look at that result tonight, and you look at the stars that Real Madrid have. Didn't play well tonight perhaps, but they get the job done, and that's what Carlo Ancelotti's teams do. They get the job done, and probably looking at them, they'd be one of the ones you'd want to miss in the quarter-finals.
Yeah, so far through Bayern, Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester City and Real Madrid, so that's a heavyweight 4 into the quarterfinals after this week of Champions League games. I suppose one of the other things, maybe Stephen Warnock, and we'll talk a little bit more about City's performance after 10 o'clock. Some of the younger players got valuable run-outs again, just when it comes to experience, whether that's Lewis or Bob or even, you know, a couple of the kids on from the bench.
Yeah, Hamilton got a little bit longer. Felt sorry for Jacob Wright, who didn't really get any touches of the ball. And you look at the young boys, and Oscar Bob and Rico Lewis are the 2 players who got to start the game, but we've seen them before. We know they can handle the pressure. We've seen Oscar Bob score that goal against Newcastle away under pressure, that amazing touch late on in the game, so we know he can play under pressure. It's the next generation, it's the next batch that you want to see. A 6-2 lead, I'm thinking, get them on earlier. It disappoints me in a way, because I think, well, when are you going to blood them? When are you going to see when they can get on?
Stephen Warner, Shay Given, John Murray, more to come from them after 10 o'clock. Shay mentioned Real Madrid into the quarter-finals. Although they weren't brilliant, John Akers, were they?
They were far from it, Mark. They have scraped through, and Leipzig will be wondering how they're not in the last 8, to be honest. They had so many chances, 34 shots on goal across the 2 legs from Leipzig, and they only scored 1 goal. That tells the story. They had more shots than Real Madrid. They were more attacking. Lumen's made some good saves, but Openda, Simons, Chesko, Olmo, all had really good chances for Leipzig, and Madrid struggled to get out of second gear. I've got to say the assist from Bellingham is brilliant for the Vinicius goal, and that's the quality they've got. Like a Rolls Royce through the middle, Bellingham just looked like he was cruising through. Weight of pass to Vinicius, beautiful, great finish on the penalty spot. But after that, Leipzig equalised just a few minutes later through the captain with a header, and then he could have had another one from the next corner that came after that. So Leipzig will be wondering how they've not got anything out of it, and Madrid do scrape through. Real Madrid won, Leipzig won on the night, and Real Madrid win 2-1 on aggregate.
In the Women's League Cup semi-final this evening, Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 0, the second semi-final.